Testing. Testing. Testing.
علی جان
Yes.
چیه خوبه؟ یا تستینگ problem?
A little. It's playing it.
Right? I'll just do عصر when I come.
وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم نسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير وكان الإنسان عجولا وجعلنا الليل شيء فصلناه تفصيلا وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا من اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فإنما يضل عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا وإذا أردنا أن نهلك قرية أمرنا متر فيها ففسقوا فيها صغيرا ربكم أعلم بما في نفوسكم.
You can change the color of the light.
صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا وآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل وآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين والخلص من أصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان وإيمان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers, sisters, friends, community members, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I know many of us are worried and very anxious, and some of us are sad and depressed about what is happening worldwide. But my friends, do not be overtaken and overwhelmed by sadness and anxiety. We must have hope. We are the people of hope. We are the people of faith. We are the people of Iman and believe in God. And we know that God is watching over us. There is a creator. There is someone in charge in this universe. So we should connect to Him, and we should petition to Him and ask Him for salvation, ask Him for help, ask Him for relief, ask Him for cure and remedy for those who are suffering right now. Ask Him for His own protection. Have faith. Please have faith in God. Have a trust in God. God is truly trustworthy. He's a trustworthy God. So put your trust in Him. I wanted to begin with this important sentence, that it is faith and only faith in God that is bringing us relief and a glimpse of hope in this very difficult, trying, tumultuous time. May the peace, may the blessing, may the mercy, may the bounties of God, may the protection of God be always surrounding you, my dear friends. Now, today's or tonight's In California now, it's just in the afternoon. It's about, I think it's about 1:35 p.m. now, or 1:33 p.m. It's evening in Europe, in London, in the United Kingdom. So I greet you, my friends, wherever you are watching tonight, Thursday, the 1st of Sha'ban. Source of suffering? What is the source of evil? What is the source of misfortune in this universe? Who is responsible for asking this question today? Is God greed because of their dictatorship, because of their disorganization, because they did not pay attention, because they did not take precaution? So who is? I am asking this question. Let's open the Holy Quran. Try to find some answers that address this specific question in the Quran. When I open chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa in the Quran, this is what I read. God says to the Prophet, and through the Prophet to us, to mankind, to every one of us, God says, ما أصابك من بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك. Whatever goodness reaches you is bestowed upon you by God. Whatever evil reaches you and afflicts you, فمن نفسك وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك وأرسلناك للناس رسولا. We sent you, O Muhammad, as a messenger to mankind. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. And suffices God to be a witness over what you are preaching and what you are teaching. Then, in the one before that, the one I just read is chapter 4, verse 79. The one before it, which is chapter 4, verse 78, God says, وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ حَسَنَةٌ. This is regarding the hypocrites in the community of Medina. Some commentators say those are some of the people of the book. Others believe that this verse is addressing the hypocrites who blamed every misfortune on the Prophet. What did they say to the Prophet? They said to him, وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ حَسَنَةٌ يَقُولُ هَذِهِ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. If they receive goodness and success in their life, they attribute that to God. If they receive misfortune and affliction, they will attribute that to the Prophet, to you, Ya Muhammad, Ya Rasulullah. وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ حَسَنَةٌ يَقُولُ هَذِهِ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ يَقُولُ هَذِهِ مِنْ عِنْدِكَ. So what is the answer? God puts the answer in this very short sentence. قُلْ, say to them, say to those hypocrites, قُلْ كُلٌّ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ فَمَا لِهَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ لَا يَكَادُونَ يَفْقَهُونَ حَدِيثًا. Both of them are from God. How is that? Goodness and evil are from God? God says yes. Goodness, hasana, and evil, sayyi'ah, is from God. How do we explain that? That in the one before it, in the one after it, he says, whatever goodness befalls you, then it is from God. Whatever evil touches you, it's from you. So some people say there is a contradiction between verse 78 and 79. But there is no contradiction. Let's reflect on these two verses. When God says both of them, fortune and misfortune, goodness and evil, prosperity and loss, both are from God, he means that God is the only source of energy, the only source of power, the only source of motion, the only source of strength in this universe. God is omnipotent. And therefore, everything that happens in this universe happens with His permission, with His leave, with His authority, with His strength. He is the source, Masdar, Al-Quwwah, Wahib Al-Quwwah. He is the giver. He is the generator of the source. He is the generator of strength. He is the generator of the ability. If you are able to move now, if you are able to execute anything, then your strength, your energy is from God. Don't we study in monotheism, Ilm al-Tawheed? One of the most important maxims in monotheism is that Tawheedul Af'al, the unity of the deeds. Unity of the deeds simply means that God is the only effector, operative in this universe. Every energy, every movement, every motion comes from God. Every power comes from God. هو المؤثر الوحيد. He is the only effector, the sole effector in this universe. Whatever happens, good or bad, He is the source of it. He is the source of energy. He is the generator. The generator of every motion is God. But then God gives this energy, this strength, this ability to you, and then you decide how you're going to spend it. A father who gives his son money, a sum of money, and then he wants his son to spend that on food, clothing, school supplies, books, good things. Spend that money on good things. But then the son, rather than spending that money that he took from his father on good things, he's going to spend that money on bad things, on drugs, on alcohol. He's going to destroy his health, destroy his life and his community and his family. So here, God is the father is the source of that money. Then do we blame the father for the misdeeds of his son? We don't do that. To go and blame the father because he gave his son the money. The father gave the money with good intention, with a pure intention. He wanted to build his son. He wanted to save his son. He wanted his son to advance his cause, to help himself with that money, not to destroy himself. But the son made the wrong choice. So the source of that money is the father, but the executor of that money is the son, because the son had the choice and he made the wrong choice, unfortunately. And same thing with everything in this universe, my friends. The car that you drive, you can drive it for a good purpose, as a means of transportation. You go to work, you go to school, you go to visit your parents' house, and then at the same time you can use that car with the reckless driving to endanger your life and the life of the people in the society. It's up to you. The source of that vehicle is Toyota company, Honda company, whatever company. These are the makers, the manufacturers of that car, the producers. Those are the one where you get where you buy your car from. But when someone drives that car, that vehicle recklessly, and he ends up in a big accident, do you go to the Toyota company or the Honda or whatever and blame them for that? You don't do that. You don't blame the source. You blame the executor, the driver. He's responsible for that. because he has the choice. He has a freedom of choice, and he made the wrong choice for that. So we cannot blame it on the automaker, unless the automaker had something wrong with the vehicle. Otherwise, they are supposedly produce good vehicles, good cars, and then people are responsible for driving them. God is the source of every motion, but then God says, I give you this energy, and it's up to you how to use it. If you want to use it in goodness, you would make me happy, and I will give you more and more and more. If you use it in evil, then don't blame it on me. This was your wrong choice. قُلْ كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Both of them are from God. It means God is the source of energy. But then, when Quran says, مَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ حَسَنَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ, whatever goodness touches you, it's from God. Whatever evil touches you from yourself, it means because of your wrong choice. The wrong choice that you made. So, here, let's go back to this question. Who's responsible for what are we experiencing today? Should we blame it squarely on God? It is with the permission of God, definitely. No doubt about it. It's with the knowledge of God. God knows what is happening. God is omniscient. وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. God knows about it. But then God says, I have given you the knowledge, the intelligence, the resources, and I have given you the warnings how to live. كُلُوا مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. I don't want you to eat junk food, to eat food that is not permissible for you, to stay away from dangerous, poisonous food and drink. Stay away. Keep yourself healthy. I have given you intelligence. I have given you free will. I want you to make the right choice. So if we make the wrong choice, we should not throw it on God. We should not blame it on God. This is the element of cause and effect in this universe. Every effect has a cause behind it, has a reason behind it. Now, some philosophers have a different approach to this question of who is the source of misfortune and evil in this universe. They have a different approach. They contend that there is nothing called evil in this universe. God does not create evil. God only produces goodness. But sometimes we look at certain things from our own perspective, from our own analysis, and we call them evil, but they are not evil. It's from our own narrow perspective. Because mankind always looks at its own interest. And sometimes this interest is very narrow. He or she would look at his personal interest and neglect the society's interest. This is why if they don't like certain things, they call them evil, because it is not working for them. Though it might work for others, but because it is not working for this group, they call it what? Evil. I'll give you an example. Car wash companies are shut down nowadays because of rain and because of coronavirus. Now, the owner of this car wash company, he hates rain, doesn't like rain, because when it is rainy season, he loses money. He doesn't have customers. People do not take their cars to the car wash because of the rain. They wait until after the rain. So he doesn't like rain. He doesn't even like a single drop of rain. Whereas some farmers, they love the rain. Other people love rain. Rain is mercy from God. It benefits them. So maybe someone who works for the car wash company says rain is evil. But is it really evil? Do you believe rain is evil? Rain is not evil. Rain is mercy. Or some countries where they experience flood during rainy season, they call rain evil, but rain is not evil. Rain is mercy from God. Some people wait for the rain for a long period of time. So it depends on our own perspective. We are not unified in one perspective. Every group has its own perspective, its own judgment. Therefore, some philosophers say there is no evil in this universe. God does not create evil in this universe, including sickness. Sickness has its own reason, its own expediency, hikmah. God says we never send something down without hikmah. Inna kulla shay'in khalaqnahu biqadar. We created everything in this universe with a measurement, with a reason, with a certain need. Nothing is extra in this universe. Nothing is called bad or evil in this universe. Even death, God says death is not evil. We call it evil. We fear death. But God says death is something positive. When God speaks about death in the Quran, He speaks in positive term about death. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة. The Lord who created death, He mentions death first and then life second. Because death, God says, simply death is the graduation. You graduate from this life. You are transferred from a lower life to a higher one. So it's not evil. And you must graduate. Imagine someone wants to sit in the classroom forever. Teachers are going to tell him, you must graduate. You must leave. You must go out. You finished your education. You must go out and work. Take care of your family. So we are not supposed to live in this life forever. We are supposed to come and spend some time. Now this sometime could be 10 years. It could be 30 years. It could be 50. It could be 100 years. But no more than that. Then we have to leave. Therefore God says, don't call death evil. Death is not evil. Death is a mercy. Death is a graduation of this, from this life. So my friends, in the few minutes that we have, we remind ourselves that whatever comes from God, it's good. And it happens to all people. And it's a test. It's a test. I would not call it. I stop short of calling it punishment. I stop short of calling it punishment. Because I always have positive perspective. Positive outlook. And I'd love to be always positive. I'd love to look always at the positive and the bright side of things, not the negative, not the pessimistic side. Be an optimist. Be optimistic always. Look at the good things. Otherwise, if you keep being pessimistic, you'll be down. You'll get depressed. The story which was told, it's a fiction, but it has good moral in it. An epidemic was closing in on a city, so a man outside that city asked the epidemic, how many people are going to die? It answered, only 1,000. So by the time the epidemic left that city, the number rose to 20,000. So the man turned to the epidemic while it was leaving the city, and it was angry, and he was yelling at it. He said to it, "You are a liar! You lied to me! See how many people you killed! 20,000! The epidemic smiled and said, No, I only killed 1,000. The other 19,000 were overtaken by fear. They died by fear." Be optimistic, my friend. Listen, if your time comes, nobody is going to protect you. Nothing, no power, no superpower is going to protect us if our time of departure arrives. وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُ. The only power that can avert any adversity, any affliction, any death, any sickness, any misfortune, any loss is God. And if your time has not arrived, you are going to be safe. But then you have to do your part too. You have to take care of your health. Isolation is important. Staying at home is important. Washing your hand regularly with soap and hot water is important. Following the public health instructions in your city, in your country, is very important. These things are important. But then at the end we surrender to God. We surrender to God, and we have to be optimistic. Always optimistic that tomorrow is going to be better. This is not going to last for long. Even if it lasts for long, we're going to survive. We're going to survive. My friends, let me conclude with this story of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, he was a big warrior and leader, very courageous. But he died at the age of 33. When he was at deathbed, his mother was crying. She didn't want him to die. He was very young. His mother was a prince. She did not want her son to go. It was difficult for her to see her son dies right before her eyes. So she was very distraught. So he said something to calm down his mother, to bring her some peace and tranquility. He said to her, "Mother, I have one request from you. When I die, only invite to my funeral women in Athens that have not lost any members of their family. They have not lost their sons, their husbands, their fathers, their brothers. Only those women." And then he died. So his mother ordered that only women who have not been bereft by any loss of their relatives, of their young ones, of their fathers or brothers, would come to his funeral. She sat there waiting for women to arrive to give her condolences. Nobody arrived. No one arrived. She asked the people who were there, "Where are the people? Why they are not showing up?" They said to her, "Sorry, every single mother, every single sister, every single wife, every single daughter has one of her relatives, male relatives, is dead. This is why they didn't show up." My friends, we are all together into this. There is no exception. There is no exception. So let's have faith in God. Let's have a trust in God. God is watching. God is watching above us. He's protecting us. Recite the dua. There are many supplications in this regard. This is the first day of the month of Sha'ban. the month of beautiful supplications, beautiful du'as, beautiful communion with God. And let's have hope, inshallah. And what is going to keep us strong and healthy and immune, inshallah, against this virus and this disease is hope. Hope in God, hope in salvation. We're going to take a brief break for a few minutes, and then I'm going to address your questions that already has been sent to me from London, from Ahlul Bayt TV channel, and address some of these questions, inshallah, for about half an hour. May Allah bless you. May Allah protect you, my friends. And inshallah, we will be back in a few seconds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. We received several questions from our viewers One of them says, does Islam give importance to mood changes, such as when one is sick and is not in a good mood, and is unable to give the same love, care, devotion, and importance to prayers or any other form of worshipping? Of course. God says many times in the book, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. Do not overburden us with things that we cannot bear, whether physically, socially, mentally, emotionally. Do not overburden us. So God is not going to overburden you. For instance, when it comes to fasting, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. If you are traveling or you are sick, and you decide, the sickness, you and your doctor decides whether you can fast or not, whether fasting is good for you or bad for you. Either yourself, you know your capacity, you know your health, or your physician, your doctor. Then when you are sick, you should not fast. Women during their menstrual cycle should not pray, should not fast. Maybe because their mood is different. We don't know. I read these stories. We don't experience them. Maybe the mood is different. Therefore God says, because you are in a different mood, different capacity, because maybe your mood has been compromised these few days, I'll give you some rest. I'm not overburdening you with acts of worship. Neither your husband has to overburden you with many demands and requests, nor your family, nor your society. So definitely when the mood changes, God is not saying, listen, I want you to pray to me, I want you to perform your daily prayers the same exact way you used to do them when you were in your full energy. No, God does not say that. God says, I understand. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. I did create you, and I know exactly what goes through you, what you go through. I know very well. I understand you. I'm a loving, caring God. I'm not overburdening you. So sometimes, you know how many phone calls, not phone calls to be precise, I don't use telephone calls anymore. WhatsApp, only WhatsApp. How many WhatsApps I received during the last few days of people who their health has been compromised because they worry, because they are very extremely anxious. Some of them are terrified. And I keep saying good things to them, good words that would help them, inshallah, come over this. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. So when people go through these things, these terrifying situations, definitely they cannot concentrate in their prayers, not the same quality prayers. And God understands. So don't worry about that. This is number one question. How can a loving and merciful God, another question. How can a loving and merciful God, my own creator, be so severe in punishment according to the Quran that describes various horrific punishments? My friends, if there is a punishment mentioned somewhere in the Quran or the Hadith, it does not mean necessarily that this punishment has to be executed. Sometimes It's a warning, just a warning. Just a warning. Without any execution, without any materialization. Does not materialize. So sometimes they give warnings, but it is not a practice to warn people, because some people understand nothing but the language of severe warning. العبد يقرع بالعصا والحر تكفيه الإشارة. A free person, حر means a free person who has a free mind, free soul. He will get it from the slightest indication. You give him a slight indication, he understands and he disciplines himself. But someone who's abd means a slave of his lust, a slave to his own desire, to his own whims, does not get it. You tell him 1 time, twice, 3 times, 10 times, 50 times, he doesn't get it. Therefore you have to issue a warning. Issue a warning for that person, severe warning to that person. That's the only way. That's the only way. And let me ask you this question. If someone kills 1 person deliberately, 1st-degree murder, what is the punishment of that person? In some countries, it's execution. In some countries, there is no execution. They put him in jail for the rest of his life, life sentence. In some other countries, he can bail himself out, pays money. He doesn't even go to jail. In some countries, of course, where judiciary is corrupt, like their own political system, everything is corrupt in that society. You can bail yourself out with money. But then if someone kills 10, what is the punishment? Again, it's the same punishment? It's not the same. It's more severe. If someone kills 100, again, it's more severe punishment. If someone kills 100,000 people, innocent people, what do you do to him? I leave it for you to decide. Shouldn't there be a severe punishment? So these punishments that are mentioned in the Quran or the Hadith are not for ordinary people. These are for a very extraordinary situations where mass murder took place, where the lives of thousands of innocent people were taken away from them. To be a lesson for the rest of the society. Let's go to another question, which is asking, it's along the line of the lecture itself. Why suffering exists? Why bad things happen to good people and vice versa? Let's ask the first part. Why suffering does exist? Why does God allow suffering? My friends, I repeat and say with different words and different examples, that God created us and He wants us to succeed in this life. He doesn't want us to fail. God, like a father who loves his family, he has an inherent love for his family. He wants his kids to succeed, not to fail. It really hurts him deeply if one of his children fails in his life. God is even more merciful than that father and that mother. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The most merciful, the most compassionate. So He wants us to succeed. We cannot succeed until we reach our full potential. That full potential is called in the Quran, in the Islamic terminology, is the Kamal. Al-Kamalul Insani. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Tazkiyah, purification of your soul. Purification of your mind, of your deeds, of your house, of your relationship. To be true human being, to be connected to God, to be an element of help, an element of mercy, an element of blessings in your society. This is what God wants you to do. And therefore, we have this potential, we have these seeds of goodness inside us, but it has to be cultivated. It has to be groomed in order for it to give fruits. It's like a fertile land, but you need a farmer and you need seeds and you need care to make this fertile land a beautiful oasis, a beautiful garden, beautiful farm. Therefore, these potentials inside us has to be cultivated and stimulated. How do we stimulate these good potentials of goodness inside us? How? What is the way? God says in the Quran, through trials and tribulations. Only through trials and tribulations. Only. It brings up whatever goodness you have. أَفَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. We just leave you alone without trials and tribulations? We are not going to do that to you, because we didn't do it for others before you. وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Some people are going to remain steadfast and true, pass the test with honor. Some people, unfortunately, are going to fail. So this is the sunnah of this life. Trials and tribulations is a must. No one can run away from it. No exception. Take from the Anbiya, from Adam, Idris, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ahlul Bayt, all the noble people throughout the history of mankind were put to test. And therefore, do you know who gets the most severe tests and most difficult ones? Al-Anbiya. And then those who are below them. And this answers the second part of your question, why the good people are tested. Because they are good. Because they have to prove their goodness. God knows about their goodness. God knows that they have to prove it to themselves. When you graduate with honor, how do you prove that? It's not hiding. It's not hidden from people, because you go to school, you study, and then you bring your papers. You say, look at my papers. A+, this is your proof. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, God would never reward us for the good qualities that are hidden inside us. For instance, if you are generous, God is not going to give you credit for your generosity if generosity is only in the heart, only inside. You have to demonstrate that. This generosity inside you has to be materialized outside. It has to surface. It has to get out to the society, to the family. You have to give. You have to prove. You cannot say to God, God, I'm very generous, God. I am really very generous. I love generosity. God says to you, show me. Give. Donate. Help. A student cannot go to his professor and say, Professor, I am a very intelligent student. I am very good. I do my homework. But I'm not going to show you my homework. I want you just to trust me and believe me. The professor is going to tell him, my son, my daughter, you must bring me your homework. I must see it. I must read your answers in order for me to believe. I must see your papers, your essays, your answers. This is how I'm going to grade you. This is how you're going to prove to me that you are an intelligent, hard-working student. You cannot skip the exam and tell your professor, you understood the subject, you are very well, and you are very intelligent. He says you must come to the exam. A soldier cannot say, I am very brave, I am defending my country, if he does not go to the front line. If he stays in bed at home, we don't know whether he's brave or not. We are not going to know. He must prove it outside in the battlefield. So God says, if you are generous, you have to show me. These qualities has to be demonstrated outside. This is why God is going to test the good ones. And the best ones in the societies, people with more faith, are going to receive more tests, and more difficult tests, and more severe tests. This is number one. Number two, my friends, why do we have sufferings? Some of these sufferings are discipline, and wake-up call. Some of them are mercy and elevation and a promotion. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Al-Bala, when Bala arrives, affliction, whether it is disease, poverty, war, sickness, لِلظَّالِمِ adab. For some people, those who are abusers, is a discipline, is a wake-up call. We have to send them some warnings. وَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ بِالْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَضَّرَّعُونَ. Sometimes we send afflictions upon them, difficulties, afflictions, hardships, so they go back to God. They wake up their eyes. It's an eye-opener. وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِ امْتِحَانٍ. And to a true believer, it's a test from God. وَلِلْأَنْبِيَاءِ دَرَجَةٍ. To the prophets is a degree of elevation. وَلِلْأَوْلِيَاءِ كَرَامَةٍ. And to the friends of God, this is an honor. The test is an honor from God to them. Honor. God is testing your will. God is never going to let you go without testing you, because God wants you to know whether you passed in this test or you failed. And therefore your reaction, one of them is sabr. As-sabr, being steadfast, persevere. اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. اصبروا, persevere, and try to tell your friends around you, your family members, be a model, be a leader. At these difficult times, we need leaders. We need leaders who stand tall and say, people, have a trust in God. Nothing will happen. We have God watching over us. And inspire people with hope. And inspire people with faith, with encouragement. Be positive. Be the one who's positive. Be the one who does not spread bad news. Sometimes I watch on television some officials who when you listen to them, it brings you hope. On the other hand, you watch some foolish, stupid speakers, politicians, who always induce you with fear, with negativity. This is not good. They are responsible before God. When you try to spread fear, you are equally criminal. You have to watch what you say. Inspire people with hope. Let's go to one more question. How can we justify the death of young children and innocent people through divine retribution? We cannot call it retribution, my friends. because we don't know whether those young children, they are innocent. Retribution is the wrong word to use here. Divine decree is the right word. Al-qada' wal-qadr, divine decree. How do we justify that? The young ones are dying because their term has expired. They passed the test. We have people who go to the finals, to their exams, midterms. They allocate 3 hours. Some people use the entire 3 hours to give their answers. Some people use 2 hours. Some people use 1 hour to give their answers and then hand in their papers and they leave. And some people are stuck there. They need more than 5 hours to answer, and yet they cannot reach the correct answer. So people are different. God says you are here for test. Sometimes this test is 70 years, sometimes is 50 years, sometimes is 15 years. If we find you passing the test at the age of 15, then we might summon you back. And you never know. You never know. Maybe if that person would live for a longer time, maybe it's not good for him. Maybe he's going to suffer more. Some people, if they live longer, they're going to be a source of suffering for others, whereas other people, if they live, they're going to endure suffering, so God wants them to go back. Doesn't mean they were bad. Don't we read in the history that the best women in this universe, the best lady in this universe, Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, died at the age of 18. Because she was bad? Not because she was bad. She was the purest. She was the best. But God wanted her to go back to Him because she passed the test with honor. May Allah bless you, my friends. May Allah protect you. Let's go to one more answer. May I be enlightened with a dua specifically for bad thoughts and mental strain. One of the best du'as, my friends, is a verse in the Quran. And that verse is very short. It's about Jonah. When Jonah left his community, وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ. In the depth of the darkness, he cried out loud. فنادى في الظلمات أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. There is no Lord in this universe but you. There is no Lord, there is no power in this universe but God. And he sanctified God. إني كنت, I was one of the wrongdoers. إني كنت من الظالمين. فاستجبنا, we responded to him immediately. ونجيناه من الغم, we saved him from sadness, and hence we going to save others from sadness too. So read this sentence all the times, read this sentence. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. Very short sentence. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. It's going to expel anxiety from your heart. It's going to induce you with peace, with tranquility, with inner happiness, with inner inspiration, with calmness. You're going to get calm. Keep reciting this verse. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. And with this good note and good ending and good verse, I'm going to leave you with the protection of God, with the peace of God, with the mercy of God. You, your family members, your relatives, your neighbors, your communities, your societies, your countries, and the entire mankind. We petition to God to protect us, to remove this adversary, this affliction, this severe test from all of us, all the countries, all the people. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.